So we are in the middle of a very important chapter. We have learned a lot of new concepts in the last lecture. We have seen, okay, this will aid in our revision. We have seen that there are expenses, there are incomes. We have seen there are assets, there are liabilities. We have seen loans and advances. We have seen capital. We have seen deposits. We have seen interest on loans and advances, interest on investments, provisioning. We have seen interest on deposits also. We have seen so many things about stressed assets, substandard assets. We have seen investments. We have seen about SLR, CRR. We have also seen about owners, shareholders putting in capital. We also see that a lot of NPAs cause higher need for capital. How does it cause a higher need for capital? Because when NPAs arise or when substandard assets increase, what happens is provisioning increases. Provision increasing reduces the profits or increases the losses, which in turn reduces the capital, right? And then owners have to bring in new capital. Then where we ended was that we ended in this slide, right? Basel norms. We spoke about Basel norms also. There are three kinds of Basel pillars. First pillar speaks about default or credit risk. Second pillar is nothing. And sorry, Basel 1, Basel 2, Basel 3. Third pillar speaks about these things: capital adequacy and asset quality. Okay. Now, what about capital adequacy? We spoke about capital adequacy, that Basel has some two things in the last pillar. One is capital adequacy and second is asset quality. Second is asset quality. That is very important to know. Second is asset quality. Okay. So now in asset quality, when we come to asset quality, there is when we come to the third pillar, which is asset quality and your capital adequacy. So Basel committee has set up capital adequacy ratio. Basel committee has set up, or Basel committee has suggested how much should be the capital adequacy ratio. Okay, how much should be the capital adequacy ratio? How much should it be? It should be 9%. What do you understand by 9% capital adequacy ratio? Which means कि if you give out 100 rupees as loans, 9% should be your capital minimum. समझा? ठीक है? Remember in the very earlier lectures when I was teaching you about counter-cyclical capital policy, I told you to remember one word which I will do in the banking chapter, something called as counter-cyclical capital buffer, CCCB. ठीक है? अभी आएगा वो. ठीक है? So always Indian government or RBI has been a little bit more ahead than Basel. Okay, so Basel committee norms were to kick in from 1st April 2021. Abhi 1st April 2021 which went, but it was deferred by 6 months. So officially we are not Basel compliant, but still we are doing something. In some aspects we are doing more than Basel, what is required. So current situation in India, I am telling you, capital adequacy ratio 9%, which we are meeting, and Basel committee also gave us various other ratios, various other requirements also which we have to follow, which we are not yet following because of COVID and all of that. We have, if more capital is set aside, then less is given for loans, and less is given out as loans, and then that causes businesses to suffer. And currently our aim is to do nothing but to increase the impetus to businesses so that they come back on track, and then we are able to salvage our economy. So this is this plus counter cyclical capital conservation buffer or counter cyclical capital buffer और काउंटर साइक्लिकल कंजर्वेशन बफर. समझा? बहुत सारे नाम है इसको. काउंटर, I will write all C, cyclical capital conservation buffer. 2.5%. Total 11.5%. Sir, we understood this. What is this counter cyclical? It is the same as CAR. Ki when you are giving very high loans, when your business is increasing, which means आप उड़ रहे हो, which means some of it you have to keep it aside as capital. Okay? It is counter cyclical capital buffer, which means when your bank is going very high, when your bank is growing, when your bank is giving new loans and all, some percentage of it, please keep it aside as capital, because tomorrow when you fall down, you will need this capital. And when you earn your income a lot, you keep your savings aside. So this is that. So 9% is the default capital adequacy ratio. You add plus 2.5% as your counter cyclical capital buffer, and 11.5% is what every bank has to maintain. as a capital adequacy ratio plus CCCB. नहीं समझा? ठीक है, 11.5% is something which you have to maintain. 11.5% which the banks in India have to maintain. उसमें का 9% is the default CAR, 2.5% is the counter cyclical capital buffer. Did you understand? Yes or no? ठीक है, these are the important concepts which we need to know regarding Basel norms. Now I will tell you Basel also gave some macroprudential norms, or Basel also gave something called as prudential norms. ठीक है, they are called as macroprudential norms or Basel norms, not Basel norms, or prudential norms. Now I want you to tell me, what do you mean by the word prudential? What do you understand by the word prudential? Or what do you understand by the word macroprudential? Or before that, what do you understand by the word prudence? English mein there is a word called prudence. If you haven't heard of it, then you'll come to know now. But what do you think is the meaning of the word prudence? Prudence matlab to be safe, to be conservative. ठीक है, prudence always means to be safe, to be conservative. Right? Prudence means to be safe, to be conservative. Okay. So what do you think will be these prudential norms? Norms which allow you to be safe, norms which you should take beforehand to prevent NPAs getting higher, norms which you should follow. You means banks should follow to be safe. So see this. Macroprudential norms or prudential norms, see, these are general norms. These are also given by Basel committee only, but these are widely used in the world. These are followed in India also, widely used in the world, followed in India. Everything is very good. Okay? So now when we speak about macroprudential norms, what do you think in our NPA slide? Can I say the first thing we have to do is to classify it accordingly? समझा? We are safety measure है ये, safety measure. The first thing is, the moment it becomes a stressed asset, you should classify it as a stressed asset. The moment it becomes an NPA, you should classify it as an NPA. The moment it becomes DA1, DA2 loss asset, you should classify accordingly. Yes or no? उससे ही तो disclosure होगा. That will help with disclosure. That will help with corrective action being taken. Imagine you are having 10% NPA, you are only showing 2% NPA. You are getting very famous because this bank is having only 2% NPA. But what is the reality? That you have 10% NPA. So can I say the first step would be to classify it accordingly? Can I say the first step would be to classify accordingly? Now, the moment classification is done, do you think you should stop this or not? Stop recording this or not? Because you are not receiving this. How will you record this? Okay? The first step is to stop classify it correctly. Second step is to stop recognizing this, because this is not your income anymore. This is not your asset anymore. This is not your income anymore. You cannot show that I am getting interest when in reality you are not getting any interest. Are you understanding? Not. Second. Then third thing, don't you think you should provide accordingly? Jitna hona chahiye utna provision. So how much should be the level of provision? You should provide accordingly. How much should be the income stopping criteria? You should stop accordingly. How much should be the classification criteria? You should classify accordingly. Yes or no? And the fourth part, and very important part, don't you think you should maintain capital adequacy ratio at all times? Okay, so these are safety measures which are taken to ensure NPAs don't occur, or if they occur, right accounting treatment is followed. Disclosures are properly made कि you have these many NPAs, you don't hide NPAs, you don't keep on going increasing your income wherein you are not receiving, and you don't under provide, you don't do under provisioning, you do proper provisioning. Yes or no? So these four that we spoke about are called as macroprudential norms or prudential norms. What was the first step? What was the first one? Can I call it as asset classification? You need to classify your asset accordingly, whether it is an NPA, whether it is substandard, or whether it is stressed, or whether within NPA उसका category क्या है. ठीक है. Second step, income recognition should stop. Yes or no? ठीक है. Third step, provisioning should be adequate. Provisioning should be adequate. Fourth step, what is the fourth step? What do you think is the fourth step? Capital adequacy ratio. These are called macroprudential norms. These are called prudential norms which every bank has to follow in order to comply with Basel norms or in order to comply with RBI norms. I told you these are all very localized in nature also, which means, or RBI has also said these macroprudential norms. These four things you should know. So anyone who tells you or UPSC asks you how to reduce NPAs, first step is to follow macroprudential norms, because unless you know the extent of your problem, you will not be able to solve your problem. Yes or no? Samjha? So what are prudential norms? What are prudential norms? Norms which help banks to account for NPAs correctly, which so they say that income recognition should stop at the right time. Whenever you have an NPA, your income recognition should stop. First of all, you should classify them correctly. Thirdly, you should do adequate provisioning. And fourthly, you should always maintain CAR, CRAR, capital adequacy ratio, capital risk weighted assets ratio. These are known as macroprudential norms. These are called as prudential norms, macroprudential norms. Itna samjha? Now Basel norms also give us two other things. Basel norms, apart from giving capital, see, this is also an innovation of Basel only. This is also innovation of Basel. This is all Basel norms which we have adopted in India. We follow 11.5% ratio. Now Basel norms gave us two new things or two more things. You need to know this. You need to know this very well. Basel norms gave you two things. First, what is capital adequacy ratio? First, they gave capital adequacy ratio. What is that? Capital as a percentage of your assets or risk weighted assets, you should keep it. Okay? Now, Basel norms also go in deep and say ki if assume karo, if your bank does not earn any income for 30 days. Okay? Assume karo if your bank does not earn any income for 30 days, which means for 30 days everything stops. Okay? But your expenses continue and your deposit withdrawals continue, but you don't earn any income, right? So it is like assuming you become jobless for 30 days. Do you have enough savings or not to sustain for 30 days? समझा मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? Understand what I'm saying? How much is your savings to sustain you when you don't have any income? So if you are jobless, कुछ तो savings होगा पहले का या किसी से लिया होगा. Whatever you have taken or whatever you have your losses, your savings, how long will it help you sustain? Are you getting it? Will it help you sustain for 1 month? Will it help you sustain for 2 months? Will it help you sustain for 3 months? Kitna hai? Are you understanding? Now, for checking this, do we need liquid assets or illiquid assets? When your business stops, which assets would come to your aid? Liquid assets or illiquid assets? Liquid assets, because you can sell immediately. You cannot sell your building and say I am doing my business. Okay? Liquid assets would be required. Yes or no? Right? So Basel norms say that you should maintain some minimum percentage of liquid assets with you. Do you get it? Some liquid assets, every bank should maintain some liquid assets with itself, because tomorrow you don't know, economy might crash. कुछ तो sustenance होना चाहिए, because economic crashing should not lead to banks crashing. At least for 30 days, 45 days, कुछ तो दिन you should have liquid assets. ठीक है? So see this formula. High quality. What are liquid assets? Which are readily convertible in money. Readily convertible in money. High quality liquid assets HQLA upon क्या होगा upon what? High quality liquid assets. What do you think if you are measuring liquid assets as a percentage of, किसका वो होगा? Upon cash outflow, कितना खर्चा है? Cash outflow in a stress scenario. Did you get it? Did you understand this? High quality liquid assets upon cash outflow in a stress scenario. Let's say your cash outflow in a stress scenario for 1 month is 1 lakh rupees. So out of that 1 lakh rupees, to meet that 1 lakh rupees, how much liquid assets do you have? Are you understanding? To meet that 1 lakh rupees, let's say you have 3 lakh worth of liquid assets. So this ratio would be 3 lakhs upon 1 lakh 3 times, which means you are able to sustain your business 3 times in normal stress scenario. Let's say you have only 10,000 rupees, so only 0.1, which means it is very bad, which means you will not be able to survive stress scenario. ये समझा? और थोड़ा difficult? Very easy है. Out of your total cash outflow in a stress scenario, how much liquid assets do you have? So let's say you are jobless today, your expenses are 70,000. So out of 70,000, how much ready money you have today to meet those expenses in a stress scenario? ठीक है? This ratio is called as, see the name, liquidity coverage ratio. How much do you need and उसका कितना coverage है in liquid assets? Liquidity coverage ratio. समझा ये? It is very simple. Let us look at the third one. There is one more. Where does bank gets its funds from? Deposits, one. Second, capital. I told you there are different types of capital. Some capital stays, some capital goes away quickly. Short term capital, long term capital. ऐसा मान के चलो. Yes or no? Which is good for the bank, short term or long term? Long term. Which is good for the bank, stable or unstable? Stable. ठीक है? So Basel also says that you should follow some. You should calculate how much stable funding you have. ठीक है? So what is the requirement here? So you have to calculate how much stable funding do you have. So can I say, see English, available stable funding upon do you agree with this? जितना required है stable funding, sir, how much is required? We are not getting into the calculation. ठीक है? Are you understanding this? It is very easy. ठीक है? Whatever is the required stable funding, उसका how much do you have stable funding? So that ratio recommended by Basel is कितना होगा? 100%. जितना required है एटलीस्ट उतना तो stable funding होना चाहिए ना. If required is 1 lakh rupees, you are not having 1 lakh as stable funding. Does it make sense? No. Now this is called as, this also has a name, fancy name. This is called as net stable funding ratio, NSFR. This is called as net stable funding ratio. Are you getting this? So Basel has said about capital adequacy ratio, Basel has said about liquidity coverage ratio. What is liquidity coverage ratio? High quality liquid assets upon cash outflow in a stress scenario. Can you give me examples of high quality liquid assets? Just what comes to your mind when you hear high quality liquid assets? I have told you, I have given you examples of liquid assets. What are liquid assets? Example, cash. Most liquid asset is cash. Gold. Government securities which are of a short term nature, not long term. Short term government securities, yes or no? Right? How much is the minimum? How much is the minimum net stable funding ratio required? Minimum कितना है? 100% minimum. Net stable funding ratio is minimum 100%. Sir, what is net stable funding ratio? Net stable funding ratio is nothing but required stable funding, available stable funding upon required stable funding. Sir, how much is required? How much is available? छोड़ दो. This is called as net stable funding ratio, liquidity coverage ratio. Why do we calculate liquidity coverage ratio? Why do we calculate liquidity coverage ratio? To see कितना sustain होगा when the bank goes out of business or when something happens in the economy, to see how much is the bank able to sustain itself without earning further income. So high quality liquid assets upon cash outflow in a stress scenario is your liquidity coverage ratio. ठीक है, this is liquidity coverage ratio. This is second, and this is your net stable funding ratio, and this is your first car. I hope you know what is capital adequacy ratio, liquidity coverage ratio, net stable funding ratio. I hope you understand that we are doing all this to maintain the health of bank, to maintain the financial health of bank. If bank should go on, bank should not stop, because if bank stops, everything else stops. Samjha? Now we will speak about high NPAs. What do you think? What do you think causes NPAs? Before that, are high NPAs bad? They are very bad, because your investment is not yielding any result, which means it is a wasteful expenditure. Okay, they are very bad. They cause threat to the security of depositors. They cause threat to the entire banking system in general. What causes NPAs? What do you think? Why NPAs happen? NPAs can happen due to both willful and non-willful reasons. See, you are a bank, you are SBI, you gave a loan to Tata. Tomorrow Tata did not do good business. It is unable to repay your loan. Is it willful or not willful? It is not willful. है It is not having money and choosing not to repay. It is not willful. It is उसकी भी मजबूरी है. It is not willful. Yes or no? But tomorrow if you gave loan to, let's say, Nirav Modi and he fled away with the money, that is willful. ठीक है? So willful defaulter and non-willful defaulter में difference करना, it is very important, right? So I'll give you some of the reasons for NPAs. I'll give you a brief history of NPAs. Before 2015, we had very low NPAs. After 2015-16, our NPA numbers increased. Why is that? Why high NPAs? ठीक है? Why high NPAs? Why high NPAs? Right? So, when did global economic recession happen? 2008. Before that, were we growing very high? Yes, we were growing. Why were we growing very high? Software exports, IT industry, 2000 to 2007, lot of money coming in, lot of this thing. Remember, we also came up with market stabilization scheme in 2004. Lot many things were happening. We also stopped the need for printing currency to finance fiscal deficit in 2006. Okay, right? Do you know NEFT, RTGS? All of those were activated in 2007. because a lot of money was coming in. So Payment Settlement and Systems Act was brought in 2007. Anyways, so what do you think was the strategy we adopted after global economic recession? When global economic recession hit India, global economic recession, matlab recession hai, economy is going down, world economy is going down, so Indian economy is also going down. What kind of policy do you think fiscal policy adopted? Contractionary or expansionary? Expansionary. Why? Because you want to boost the economy. What kind of monetary policy do you think RBI adopted? Expansionary monetary policy. Okay. So can I say RBI made the money available cheaper to the banks because we were following a expansionary monetary policy? When more and more money is available with the banks and when they are told to lend it out, why they are told to lend it out? Because we want to increase money supply, we want to boost our growth. Okay. When banks get money at cheaper cost, when banks get money at lower repo rate, when banks get money at banks find it very unattractive to keep money at lower reverse repo rate, they will lend it out to the people. When they lend it out to the people in 2008-9, do you think banks were also negatively affected? Yes, because recession hai, banks ka performance was also down. So banks also wanted to follow their own personal expansion in the business. Banks also wanted to grow high. Banks also wanted to earn higher profits because recession had happened. Okay? Government was giving in so much of fiscal support, fiscal stimulus de rahe the. Remember the graph we saw fiscal deficit in 2008-9, it had raised to 6% and 6 or 5%. Then again it came back down gradually. Remember that? In Indian Express article we had seen in 1 year it was very high in 2008-9, right? So banks were also, so now banks started reckless lending. Banks started lending to everyone. What do you think banks should do before lending? क्या करना चाहिए banks to? To see the documents, to see KYC, right? To see, उसके बाद ही KYC आया just, right? To see KYC, to see whether he will be able to repay the money or not. So what will it ask from you? It will ask your income tax return, how much do you earn? It will ask your salary slip, how much do you earn? It will ask your business profits. If you have a business, it will ask you business ka accounts do. Then only it will be giving you loan. Yes or no? Because tomorrow we will run away. What will happen? Bank will have an NPA. But that did not happen in 2008-9. What happened was reckless lending. ले लो, जो भी आ रहा है ले लो. Why? Because government was also following stimulus. Monetary policy was also in expansionary phase. Banks also wanted to increase their profit. So post 2008, reckless lending. Now let us look at banks side here. What is the average duration of a loan? 10, 15, 20 years. Do you think lower level employees are allowed to give loans or sanction loans, or higher level employees? Higher level. And that too of higher amount. Who will have the authority? More higher level. More senior people would have the authority. High amount. Think from their own personal angle. Higher level kab honge? When you are in a bank, when you are at least 50 years, 45, 50 years of age, you will be in a very high position. How many years to retire? 5, 10 years to retire. 60 pe you retire. Okay? Do you know that many bank managers' salary is linked to loans, is linked to performance. So the well you perform, the more money you get. Even cricketers also, the more they perform, the more money they get. Everyone, sales people also, the more they sell, the more money they get. You must have gotten calls for credit cards, for buying this, buying that. Okay? So the more you sell, the more you get money. What do you think banks are selling? Loans. Whose salary is dependent on these loans? Managers or the senior people. So the more loans they give, the more salary they get. Yes or no? They know that loan might be not repaid. They know that loan might turn NPA. What is the average duration of loan? Let's say 15 years. Time to retire? 10 years. Okay? He takes the chance. NPA kab hoga? At the end, when he is not able to. See, it can happen in between also, but chances are that at least for 10 years he will repay. Uske baad he will turn NPA. But I will retire after 10 years. I will take my bonus, my salary, because my bonus, my salary is getting today, is getting credited to my account today. Are you getting this? So I have an incentive to give out more reckless loans because I have to earn more salary now. And I know that when they will turn NPA, I will not be in the job anymore. I would have retired. So मेरे को कोई नहीं पकड़ेगा, nobody will catch me. Do you get this? ठीक है? So that was also one of the reasons for reckless lending. they didn't check documents, they accepted duplicate documents, original देखा ही नहीं, xerox देख लिया, and they accepted lower quality documents, they didn't go for proper ID proof verification and all, they gave loans. हाँ, now average duration of loan 10 years मान के चलो, 5 10 whatever is the years, plus 10 years, how much is plus 10 years? 2018 NPA started rising after 10 years. That is the reason we are seeing very high NPAs now. It is one reason. Second reason is in 2015, RBI conducted an asset, what is asset of bank? Loans, asset quality review, AQR exercise बोलते हैं, 15-16 2 years it conducted AQR. What it did is it said, RBI said, I don't trust my banks anymore, I don't trust my children, I will check how much NPAs they have. Earlier NPAs, they were showing very less NPAs. I told you, banks show less NPAs. Why banks show less NPAs? Because their business is dependent on loans and advances. So they show less NPAs. RBI said, I will check your books. RBI said, I will check whether सच में NPA है या नहीं है, or whether you have really low NPAs, is it true or is it false, right? So RBI conducted an exercise called asset quality review, and then many NPAs came to front. Many NPAs came forward, which banks were reluctant to show. Banks were reluctant to disclose. They don't disclose. Now also they are not disclosing a lot of NPAs. So this 9.88% which we saw, that is just 70-80% of the total NPAs. It might be 12% actual NPAs. ये हो गया, ठीक है? Now these were the factors from bank side, from the one who is giving a loan. What about the borrower side? What happens? Why is NPA increasing in the past 5-6 years? Our economy, before Corona also, it was going for a downfall only. Okay? People were losing jobs, unemployment was high, businesses were getting closed. So if your economic situation is bad, would you be able to repay the loan taken from the bank? No. So bad economic situation, bad economic prospects or situation. Now I'll give you some specific examples. This is very general. Steel industry, one of the biggest borrowers from the bank. It requires a lot of money from the bank. Steel industry, okay? Now tell me what will happen to banks which have lent to steel industry. Imported steel being cheaper than Indian steel, what will happen? People will buy imported steel. Nobody will buy from Indian steel manufacturers. Indian steel manufacturers have taken a lot of loan from banks. Will they be able to repay the loan? No. So we have problems with steel. We had, अभी थोड़ा कम है, steel. ठीक है, imported steel, right? Remember I spoke to you about inverted duty structure. What was inverted duty structure? Duty on raw material, import duty on raw material being more, which causes your product to become more costlier compared to a finished imported product or imported finished product. Inverted duty structure also caused NPAs because they harmed Indian manufacturers and favored direct finished goods imports. So inverted duty structure. Do you know that India has one of the lowest electricity rates in the world? The charges which we pay monthly charges or whatever is the unit cost of electricity, they are the lowest in the world. Okay? Who do you think bears the loss for this? Government. I told you there are 3 layers of electricity companies, one who is generating, one who is transmitting, one who is distributing. Okay? So distribution is normally done by state companies, state government companies, discoms बोलते हैं उसको. Power sector में distribution is normally done by state government companies, discoms. So they bear the losses. They buy electricity at higher cost but supply to us at a lower cost. Farmers have free electricity, just imagine. Is that free coming? Is that free getting generated for free? No. That you are giving to farmer at free of cost, but uska cost to hai. Do you think power plant suppliers would accept 0 rupees for their generation of electricity? No. Okay? So all these losses borne by distribution companies. Just imagine electricity is generated somewhere in a factory. It is transmitted to distribution centers and distribution से it comes to our home. समझा अभी? So who bears? State discoms, state distribution companies bear the loss. Now, do you think state distribution companies would be able to repay their loan to banks because they are in losses, they are bearing so much of loss? So state discoms or power sector is one of the reasons for rising NPAs. ठीक है? Did you understand the principal reasons for very high NPAs? Now the question is, before that, I would like to tell one concept which I would rate it 9 out of 10 in terms of importance. One very important concept. We spoke about this and all, है ना? If I want to draw a bank's balance sheet, how would I draw it? What is becoming bad in my bank's balance sheet? Loans. Where does loans come? Let us say this is a balance sheet of, every company has a balance sheet. This is a balance sheet of, let's say, steel manufacturer. So Steel Authority of India Limited, SAIL. Okay? Where do you think it will show its loans? Liability, because it has borrowed from bank. Liability. Is it able to service its liability? Because of bad business performance, it is not. Can I say losses are rising of steel? Losses are rising because it is not performing well because of XYZ reasons. So can I say this balance sheet is turning bad? Loss, health is becoming bad, na? Every company has its own financial health. Every one of us has our own financial health. Can I say because of this balance sheet becoming bad, this balance sheet is becoming bad? समझ में आ रहा है? This causing loss or this causing lower profits or not doing enough business is unable to repay this loan. So this balance sheet becoming bad due to various reasons is transferring the bad effects to this balance sheet also, because bank is now unable to. So imagine if a bank has given to 10 steel manufacturers, all of them default. Can I say this balance sheet is also becoming bad because of this balance sheet? This phenomena, please bear in mind, this word is very, very important. This phenomena of one balance sheet becoming bad. Whose balance sheet is becoming bad, borrower or lender? Borrowers. Borrower's balance sheet becoming bad, which causes problems in the balance sheet of lender also, is known as, see the English, is called as twin balance sheet problem. Why twin? One bad, two bad. This is very important. Twin balance sheet problem. Very, very, very important. Twin balance sheet problem. Did you understand what is twin balance sheet problem? Balance sheet of one borrower becoming or causing the transfer of bad effects to the other one is called as twin balance sheet problem. What are capital adequacy norms? Capital upon loans and advances. What are prudential norms? Prudential norms, there are 4 prudential norms. You should by heart them. First, asset classification. Second, income recognition should stop at the right time. Third, provisioning should be adequately done. Fourth, maintain CAR, CRAR. Twin balance sheet problem. Right? Now I'll tell you one very funny concept. इधर ही लिख देता हूँ, one very funny concept. Who is suffering? Both of them. ठीक है? Both of them are suffering. What this bank does is very simple. When does it become an NPA? 90 days. ठीक है? On 89th day, this bank calls SAIL, says you are not able to repay tomorrow, you will not be able to repay, it will become an NPA, मेरी वाट लगेगी, you are already in debt and you are already not performing well. I will give you a fresh loan you repay this loan so that for the fresh loan you get more 90 days. समझा? I will give you a fresh loan, you repay the existing loan, तो इसका 90 day counter will be closed, and this next loan again you get more 90 days. At the 89 day I will again give you more loan. This is the setting between bank and sale. समझा? How funny and how cunning they are, right? This process. So can I say they are maintaining the level of healthy assets when the asset is not healthy? They are maintaining. Haryali hai, but it is not green. Yes or no? It is actually not green, but you are showing it is evergreen. This is called as evergreening of loans and advances. Did you understand what is evergreening? What is evergreening? Renewing the loan. There are various ways of evergreening. This is just one of the way which I told you. 89 day pay, it will give the borrower a new loan and say ki please repay the old loan and then take 90 more days to repay this current loan. Samjha? Evergreening of loans, very important. I am going very slow. I am taking pauses in between after every concept so that you are able to revise in your mind what is it and able to sink it in. What is twin balance sheet problem? Problem of one balance sheet causing disruptions or in the business or balance sheet of the other one. Borrower से lender में problem जाता है. Twin balance sheet. What is evergreening? Increasingly, finding ways to renew the loan. Renew हो सकता है ना, finding ways to renew the loan so that it is not shown as an NPA, non-performing asset. Did you understand this? Yes, no, very good. Evergreening of loans. Did you understand both the concepts, twin balance sheet problem, evergreening of loan very clearly? Now we come to the solution of NPA. कि NPA हो गया. What can be done? See, first thing which everyone knows is, can I call him? Can I call the person? I'm a bank. Can I call the person and say, sir, don't give me 100 rupees, give me 80 rupees. जितना होता है उतना दे दो. I will try to minimize my NPAs. Yes or no? So any change, or let's say you don't give me 10% interest, sir, give me 7% interest. Or don't repay in 10 years, repay in 20 years. Barabar? Anything you can change. You can reduce the amount of loan, you can reduce the interest rate, you can extend your tenure of the loan. Yes or no? Any changes which you make, that is the first step. Logically, you can say कि sir आप कितना दे सकते हो? How much can you give? That is called as, see the word, restructuring of loans. Do you agree? You are changing the structure of the loans, be it interest rate, be it the principal amount, be it installment amount, be it your tenure. If you increase your tenure of the loan, he will have more time. Ki sir, don't pay now, pay in 5 years, but pay something. ठीक है? Restructuring. What is the next thing you can do to solve NPAs or to reduce NPAs? Can you write off? Write off करेगा तो it will go out of your books of accounts. Now you have taken the entire loss with you. You have said कि this loan is now non-existent. I am bearing the entire loss, so your NPA will reduce. What else? In economics terms, it is called as cleaning up of balance sheet. Balance sheet you are cleaning. गंदा है, non-performing है, just remove it. Removing it means not कि just remove this, minus करके छोड़ दो. It means taking that entire amount in your profit and loss account and considering it as a revenue expense. समझ में आ रहा है? So that years, let's say in 2020-21, I wrote off 5 loans. So total amount of those 5 loans would be my loss for that year. समझ में आ रहा है? So my profit will reduce drastically. That is why people or banks don't prefer to write off, or they don't go for writing it off. What else can be done? Can we say provisioning can be done? Safeguard, है ना? What else? Can I say one time settlement? एक बार settle कर दो final. It falls under restructuring only, but restructuring means the loan continues. Here you say, sir, you have turned NPA. Give me 50,000, I will close your loan. Rest I will write off. So out of 1 lakh, he is unable to repay 50,000. 50,000 I will write off, I will take my loss. 50,000 I would take it from him. One time settlement, loan closed entirely. One time settlement. What else? What else? I can give him some interest waiver, ये लो वो लो, वो तो सब restructuring में आ गया, right? Now I am introducing to another important and interesting concept which you should know. I'll write it here, but before that we'll try to understand. What do you do when a lot of newspapers accumulate in your home? What do you do? Whom do you call? Raddiwala, person who collects newspapers, you call him. There is a Raddiwala for banks also. Why? Or you know, if you have, let's say, a broken radio, if you have some broken electronics, you call someone who collects scraps, you call some scrap wala person, you take him and he gives you some 100 rupees for 2 kgs of scrap and he takes. What do you think he does? Have you ever thought about it? What do you think they do? Paper wala and scrap dealers, what do you think they do? They resell it. Paper wala resells paper to recycling entities or to, you know, people who use newspapers for vending, Sev Puri and all, they wrap in newspapers, so he sells it to them. And what do you think scrap wala does? He tries, so scrap wala, imagine you are collecting scrap from homes, electronic scrap, there you find a radio which is a little bit damaged, but let's say with thoda tweaking you can start it. What will you do? You can either sell that damaged radio to someone else, or you can try to repair it and use it for yourself, or you can repair it and then sell it. Are you getting this? Those persons do something to make money out of it. No? Otherwise, they wouldn't have collected it from you. Yes or no? Similarly, are you understanding this? Similarly, there are some people who specialize in collecting bad loans. Samjha? What they do is they tell banks, ki, sir, sell us your loan. We will give you little bit of amount today. Pay attention, huh? Sell us your loan. When I have that loan, I am that person, other person, whom bank has sold the loan. When I am that loan, I will deal with the customer on my own. I will send Vasuli. I will send Vasuli agents or, you know, thugs to his place. Or what I can do is, I will persuade that person to, give me money. Okay? That is my problem. Now, why will someone take bad loans? What do you think? Why will someone take bad loans from banks? Why would it be a lucrative business? What do you think? Because that person thinks that this loan is now bad, but it might turn good in the future. समझ में आ रहा है? You buy a second hand. So, you know, I will tell you very honestly, when I came here to record the first lecture, just 1 or 2 days after that, I purchased a new keyboard on Amazon, wireless keyboard. I needed for my work, but I purchased a renewed keyboard, not the new packed one, renewed keyboard. So on Amazon, you will find some renewed products also, which means they have some defect which are rectified now and they sell. Obviously, warranty is less, but cost is much lesser. So the keyboard I was looking for was priced at 3,000 rupees. I got the renewed keyboard as 1,650 rupees, almost half price. It is working very good so far. I've you know, roughly used it also. I'm using it day night, but it is working very good. Now, why do you think I took that renewed keyboard? Because I knew it will work. I knew that even if it is damaged, I will repair it and I will make it work. Barabar hai? Similarly, imagine these people whom I am talking about. These are the Raddiwalas of non-performing assets. These take non-performing assets, these buy non-performing assets on their own. They either try to persuade the borrower to repay it, they do their own one-time settlement, they do their own restructuring. Samjha? Yes or no? Or they sell it off to someone else. In between, do you think they make a profit? Obviously they make a profit. That is why they are in this business. Otherwise they wouldn't have been in this business. समझा? ठीक है? Did you understand this? So what they do is they approach banks, they take bad loans, उस bad loan को they will repair, they will do one-time restructuring, they will do resettlement, they will do one-time settlement, they will change the interest rate, let's say. So let's say bank was charging 7% rate of interest, it turned NPA. I bought that loan from the bank and I am willing to take it at 3%. So I will tell the borrower कि now give me 3%. So how the arrangement works is, you only tell me, I am not going to tell. This is a bank, this is a borrower, bank gives loans to borrowers, it turns NPA. Who approaches? Raddiwala approaches, bank. ठीक है? He has big mustache, he will approach bank, he will tell, sell me the asset. Right? Now do you think he will give a very high price or very low price to the bank? He will give a very low price because bank has already termed it as NPA. It is a loss on bank. Do you think bank would be willing to sell to him at a low price? Yes. I'll tell you why. Because this person is hopeless. He is not giving money. Banks are always keen to reduce their NPAs. Yes or no? So do you think when bank sells NPA to this person, it can clean it off from its balance sheet? Yes, it will show I have sold my asset. I told you, loan is just like any other asset. I have sold my mobile. It was not performing. I sold it to someone. Now that person, either he can repair the mobile and sell it to someone else. He can use it on his own also to earn income, whatever. Okay? Or he can sell the mobile as it is to someone else. So NPA goes now. Now tell me, NPA goes here. Okay? Now will the bank call him? No. That link is broken. Will he call him? Yes. So he has to pay whom? Bank or him? He has to now repay him. So now the lender-borrower relationship changes from bank and him to him and him. Do you agree? He becomes the new lender, yes or no? And he remains the borrower. But borrower, earlier he was for bank, cut, now he is for lender. समझा इतना? Now what changes does he does? That we have to know. ये ऐसा क्या करता है which makes it lucrative? Right? He will buy only those NPAs which banks are desperate to sell. He will buy only those NPAs which banks are, huge amount, which banks will get relief from selling it. See, when banks sell NPAs to this guy, banks can remove that loan from its books. Bank will show a clean balance sheet. Yes or no, I don't have NPAs. I sold my NPAs. So banks are also keen. Now, when this person does vasuli, even if he gets 50% of the amount owed, he will be in profit. Let's say bank gave him a loan of 1000 rupees. He will pay the bank money, yes or no? He will pay bank 200 rupees. Sir, give me for 200. Take it or leave it. Bank will say कि 1000 के बदले 200 मिल रहा है, ले लो. Take 200. NPA gone for 200. Now he will try to persuade him either by good or bad means to pay. The moment he pays anything more than 200, he is in profit. Yes or no? Now why do banks don't do this? If he was willing to pay 200, why do banks did not do this? Banks don't have the time to chase so many people. Banks don't, and chota loan mein, do you think bank is going to chase everyone? The legal cost involved in pursuing him would be much more than the loan amount itself. So bank would be like, you are expert, and he is like, I will contact small people. So there are, India mein it less hai, India mein they are very less, but in other developed countries, this is a full-time job. This is a proper profession. Just buying bad assets from banks and selling them or recovering them. Because he can sell it to someone else also. So let's say he can't recover, but there is a big person now. He can recover. He will sell it to him at 250 rupees, 50 rupees profit. He will collect 400 from him. Iska 150 profit. This is how it works. Right? Now, this is known as, these guys, they are not individuals in India, they are companies. They are proper established registered companies. See this, what I am telling you, see the word which I am writing, I will write it in a different color. These are called as, see this name, asset, reconstruction companies, ARCs. These are called as asset reconstruction companies, ARCs. They, see the sentence. They provide a market for bad loans. One ARC, can he sell the bad loan to another ARC? Can that ARC sell the bad loan to another ARC? Bank is clean now. So bank sold to ARC1, ARC sold to ARC2, ARC sold to ARC3, ARC3 sold to ARC4. So now they are playing in bad loans as if they are exchanging shares. समझ में आ रहा है? Shares buying selling चल रहा है. Similarly, bad loans buying selling चल रहा है. So can I say ARCs provide a market for bad loans? Yes, they provide, because there are buyers, there are sellers for bad loans. And this drastically increases the chance at recovery. Bank will be like, he is very small. See, before ARCs what happened was, he is very small, let's not pursue him, let's write it off. ऐसा छोटा छोटा करके they used to write off a big amount. Here what they are doing, they are writing off a lower amount. Why? Because they are getting some money, even if it is very low, but they don't have to follow the headache, or they don't have the headache of following up with that person. They don't have the headache of writing off the entire amount. See, they have to write off something, because that guy is not going to give you entire amount. So out of 1000, you have to write off 800, but 200 you are gaining, and that 200 into lakhs of borrowers becomes a big amount. Did you understand the role of ARCs? So let us talk about ARCs. These are companies which are registered. These are registered companies. Registered under, obviously, Companies Act. Now, which act gives powers to ARCs? So before 2002, we did not have ARCs in India. In 2002, we brought the concept of ARCs. ARCs gain power. See, they are registered under Companies Act. वो तो है, every company is registered under Companies Act. But ARCs gain power under one act. ARCs have authority under one act. जैसे banks के लिए Banking Regulation Act है, जैसे RBI के लिए RBI Act है, वैसे ARCs के लिए there is an act called, look at the English, very small name, Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interests Act, SARFAESI Act. Now we will go word by word, ki why it is called this. Is he reconstructing? Yes. He will do some changes, he will reconstruct. Is he reconstructing? Is the Raddiwala reconstructing the bad loan? Yes. Is the loan a financial asset? Yes. It is not a heavy asset like machine and all, na? It is a financial asset loan. Okay. Is he enforcing his right to collect the loan? Enforcement of security interests. This security does not mean that watchman wala security. Yeah? This is security means financial security. So every instrument, shares, bonds, treasury bills, SDLs, anything, debentures, loans, anything, they have a common term in finance called as securities. They are called security because when you invest in them, you are looking for a secure place to place your money. That is why they are called as security. So when I say enforcement of security interest, which means it is trying for recollecting, or he is trying for recovering loan. Yes or no? Do you agree with this? Now this term is remaining. This term we need to dedicate 5 to 8 minutes for this term only. You are in foundation batch. I am not supposed to teach you this term, but you have to know this for UPSC. So I am teaching you this. This term is normally learnt when you know all the concepts, but here we are learning this. What is this? Securitization. Let us speak about securitization. कंसेप्चुअली यू शुड नो, बाकी सब छोड़ दो. Have you ever seen Bollywood movies are overly dramatized? A lot of drama, especially Karan Johar movies, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum types. Can I say they are overly dramatized? Which means, what do I mean by the word dramatized? Which means there is a lot of drama. A simple story is converted to a big drama and then shown in the movies. Yes or no? Same. So when this person gets the NPA, let's say this person, who is he? What is his name? ARC, Asset Reconstruction Company. When he gets a bad loan of 500 rupees, can I say he will try to reconstruct it? Can I say he will try to enforce his security interest? But remember, I told he is a company. He is a company, which means it's a big office. Who provides funds to the company? Any company. Who provides funds? Shareholders. What are those funds called as, which are invested in the business? Capital. Is it called capital? So this company also has a capital. This company also has a lot of shares. Okay? Let us say this is a big company. Let us say he can trade this 500 with another company. Do you agree with this? He can trade this 500 to another company. He can trade that 500 to another company. It's a big market. Now this is 500. What if I change the amount and he says कि मेरे हाथ बड़ा lottery लग गया, you know? What about 5 crores? What about 5 crores? He might not have a ready-made borrower for 5 crores. Yes or no? He says, I can't buy 5 crore rupees. Third person says, I can't buy for 5 crores. What will he do? What do you do when you have a big pizza with you and you cannot eat? What do? You invite your friends. You divide the pizza and you invite your friends, or you give it to the neighbors. In fact, many times, बचा हुआ ही we give to others. है ना? We give बच गया, अरे पैक कर लो, give it to that person. And then, अरे see, I made this for you. वो for you नहीं है, वो बचा हुआ है. It's left over. It's not for you. ठीक है? Right? He will try to break this. Do you agree? And then he will invite his friends. So let's say he breaks this. He breaks this into कितना? Into 10 pieces, 5 crores है ना? Into 10 pieces of 50 lakhs. ठीक है? He breaks this into 10 pieces of 50 lakh rupees. 10 pieces. So whoever is holding one piece is entitled to 50 lakh rupees. Now he is interested. 50 lakhs he says I can borrow. Then there is one more person. He also says 50 lakhs I can borrow. He borrows 3 pieces. How much would he be the owner of? 1.5 CR, 150 lakhs. He borrows 2 pieces. कितना आएगा इसके पास? 1 CR. Similarly, someone else borrows 1 CR, someone else borrows 0.5 lakhs, 0.5 CR, which means 50 lakhs. ठीक है? 1 piece, 2 pieces, 2 pieces, ऐसा करके he sold 10 pieces. He might keep a few pieces with himself also. He sold 10. Now, can they exchange this amongst themselves? Pieces है, small है. Can I say, due to this division, more and more players will be interested now because छोटा है, you can buy it. ठीक है? If I tell you, one government bond costs 10 lakh rupees, you will not be able to buy. But if I tell you, you can buy a piece of bond for 100 rupees, you will be able. Many people would be interested. Similarly, Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is costing around 30-40 lakh rupees now currently. But you can buy a part of Bitcoin. You can buy 0.001 Bitcoin for whatever money you have. Are you getting this? ठीक है? So can I say by dividing this, more people are interested now to play in this market? Ultimately, what is this? What is one piece representing? It is a piece of bad loan. So he will try his own to reconstruct. Ultimately, किसको बुलाएंगे? That one borrower will get 100 calls now. कि sir I have one part of your bad loan, please pay one part. Can I say I have securitized my bad loan? I have made it into securities which are traded. Abhi samjha? Are you getting why this term securitization? One big thing, I have divided it into tradable securities. These are tradable securities now. Hence the term securitization. I have securitized a bad asset. I have securitized a bad loan. I have securitized it so that they can be traded, so that I can sell this. One piece I cannot sell. 5 crores I cannot sell. I divide it and I sell. You don't buy a cake frequently, but you buy pastries frequently. Simple reason, same reason. You took pastry for your friend. Oh, friend is very happy. You took cake for your friend. Who will eat? काट के दे दो neighbors को. You further securitize it. Yes or no? So next time whenever you cut cake and give it to someone, say I am securitizing it. Use these words. Securitization. Samjha? Did you understand this? Division of a big loan. It can be good, bad. It's a general term. Division of a big loan or big, in this case, division of a bad asset into tradable securities of smaller denominations is called securitization. Okay? Now, this is a bad loan, agreed, but it will carry some interest also because that borrower, usko interest thodi chhodenge. Some interest will be there. Just for knowledge, I am telling. Securitization often happens when we separate principal ka instrument and interest instrument separately. So what he will do is 5 crore pay, let's say 10% interest hai. So this 10% ka he will make a separate security and he will sell it. You only have a right to collect interest. So let's say he sells this piece to Mr. A, who has his own ARC. So Mr. A only has the right to collect interest, not principal. Rest all of them have the right only to collect principal, not interest. As a securitization, practically it happens. What is happening here is you are trying to recover as much juice as possible from that asset. Because if he has bought it at 1 crore rupees, he will not sell it to him at 1 crore, he will sell it at a higher price. So economy mein, that one bad asset is still generating income for a few people, and then ultimately it is flowing in the economy only. This is the concept of securitization. Sir, very deep, sir. Now we need to sleep. We need to revise and we need to sleep. Very deep, sir. बहुत हो गया ये. कब से लगा रहे हो? ठीक है? So I don't know whether you get these lectures back to back or after 1 week. So if you get the first lecture in the last week and the second lecture in the next week, then it is okay. But if you get this back to back, then it is too heavy. Yes or no? But this is securitization. Did you understand what is securitization? Do you understand why that act is called Sarfaisi Act? Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act 2002. ARCs are registered under Companies Act but also registered under Sarfaisi Act. They are regulated under Sarfaisi Act. Yes or no? Did you understand this? Do you know why? What all things are we doing to squeeze juice out of that NPA? एक बूंद निचोड़ के we are taking it. Now, these ARCs had a lot of problems. They were not functioning properly. They were not able to set up markets. They were not able to gain customers. They were not able to find customers. Okay? And these are private ones. Government came with a very good idea. Who is selling loans to ARCs? Banks. Government said, bank should form a separate ARC. Bank should open an ARC. All banks come together and open one ARC. Are you understanding? Bank should open one ARC. So let's say SBI will have 10% share in that ARC. Axis Bank will have 15% share in that ARC. HDFC will put in more 20% and etc. Kotak will have 5% share. And then that ARC will automatically buy bad loans from these banks. What is the rationale behind ARC? See, these people, ARCs, they are experts at loan settling. They know loan concepts, they know human psychology, they know how to, recover money. Might not be, see, always it is not bad. Don't think always they will put gun and say, repay, otherwise I will kidnap your family. ऐसा सब movies में है. But in actuality, they after reading the loan agreement, they come to know how much value can be recovered. So what they do is they help the borrower with setting up his business. समझा? So borrower is saying ki so they ask the borrower ki why are you not paying the loan? Borrower will say my business has gone bad. So what ARCs do is ARCs help him with setting up his business. Once his business is set up, ARCs say ki I want first share of your profit because I have helped you set up business, so my loan. Okay. One more thing. Let me give you a further layer now. Now this person is an ARC, yes or no? He has 1 crore worth of bad loans, yes or no? Let's say that bad loans belongs to Mr. X. He is a small time farmer, belongs to Mr. X. Okay? He is a farmer, he is defaulting on his loan. Now what he will tell Mr. X is, I will buy you all tractor and all you want. You do farming. You for 2 years you have to supply the goods to me only. समझा? That is how you will repay the loan. ऐसा अलग अलग तरीका is applied. Now let's say Mr. X is a startup founder. What will he be interested in? Startup founder है. He is not able to repay loan. He said, I don't want loan. Give me something else. What? Ownership. Because when tomorrow you will grow big, I want to be a part of that. ऐसा चलता है business. This is another layer to it. So it is not simple calling and saying ki please pay, otherwise I will come to your home and all. It is this also. Ki theek hai, now you can't pay 1 crore rupees, it is fine. Give me 1 crore worth of shares today. Tomorrow when they are much more value, I will sell them off and I will gain profit. This is how ARCs work. Right? Budget Can you see search here? I can't see search. Where is search? Search ही नहीं है, क्या बात है? Can you see search here? हाँ? Find है? है क्या? Read this. Try to tell me whether you understand or not. क्या है ये? The high level of provisioning by public sector banks of their stressed asset calls for measures to clean up the bank's books. An asset reconstruction company limited, an asset management company would be set up to consolidate and take over the existing stressed debt and then manage and dispose of the assets to alternate investment funds, those who are buying, and other potential investors for eventual value realization. Samjha? Entire word, that is what I was explaining. See, I didn't even plan to read this. Now I thought ki, arey, something was mentioned in the budget, so let me take them through this also. Did you understand this point? Hence, it is very important to understand these concepts. Once you understand this, agriculture, investment models, everything becomes so simple कि we just have to give one lecture to every topic. वैसा है वो. But these things take time. ठीक है? So budget announced setting up of a national asset reconstruction company limited. It will be a company, ठीक है, national asset reconstruction company. We saw ना, so उसका भी नाम है. I'll show you this also. Read this. Banks have identified 22 bad loans worth 89,000 crores to be transferred to the National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited in the initial phase, according to UBI MD and CEO. Setting up of NRCL, Very important, it is also called as a bad bank. It is called as a bad bank. Why bad bank? Bank for bad assets. It is also called as bad bank. समझा why bad bank? We started at 11:30, 30 na? Some time before that, I think. 5 minutes before that. Hmm. 11:25 के आसपास. ठीक है? Let us continue reading it. See this. Remember I told you about IBA also, Indian Bank Association. It is an industry body. IBA has asked lead banks to call for meetings. Who are lead banks? Who contribute to National Asset Reconstruction Company, NARCL, to call for meetings to keep an approval ready, so that as soon as the ARC is formed, it is not formed yet, bear in mind, NARCL is not formed yet. It is announced in the budget, it will be formed in a few months. As soon as it is formed, they can start. So this article is saying ki keep the assets ready. जैसे ही फॉर्म होता है, you have to identify which ones to transfer. Right? खत्म. कहाँ से आ रहा है? Let us try to read this also. See this. NARCL, which is slated to become the mother of all asset reconstruction companies, will prompt existing ARCs to change their business orientation and start focusing on buying. अरे यार. ठीक है, so this article compares ki how will setting up of existing new NARCL will hamper existing ARCs, because existing ARCs are private. New NARCL is bank owned. So how would it affect the business? Interesting article. I have not read this, but no need. Okay, big article, so that is why I'm skipping. Point is, did you understand what is NARCL, what is ARC, what is securitization? Very, very important. So that is also one of the ways in which you can deal with bad loans. That is what we were talking about. So let's say I would write one more thing here. Bad bank likhu. It is a bad bank. So you know, before this budget, this was all theoretical, but now it is practical, because now government has started to set up. This was all about bad bank. Maja hai ki nahi? It's fun. Always remember, it also helps in creating a demand or market for stressed assets. Right? Next, what can be done? I told you, RBI had conducted an asset quality review, wherein all the quality of assets were reviewed and NPAs were brought in. So we can conduct a similar exercise again. So RBI asset quality review. We can conduct a similar exercise again. How to deal with NPAs? AQR. Right? RBI can also put banks under stress test. Sir, what is stress test? Remember, we saw NPAs are 9.88 and it will rise to 11.22% under severe stress scenario, which means various scenarios are run ki aisa hoga to kya, what will happen if this happens, what will happen if this happens. So one of the way of predicting NPAs, or one of the way of reducing NPAs, is to predict them beforehand, and to predict them beforehand you need to conduct stress tests. Which is the measure which shows ki how much or how many days can your bank run if everything else stops? What is that called? Liquidity coverage ratio. ठीक है? So LCR is tested here, stress test. right? I hope you understood asset reconstruction company. I hope you understood bad bank. I hope you understood what is securitization. I have taught you the heart of banking. ये issues है. These are the issues. Always remember, UPSC asks for issues. These are the issues in banking. Rest everything else is just time pass. That is also important, no doubt, but it is time pass. ठीक है? How much is the CCCB? 2.5%. So 9 plus 2.5, total banks have to maintain is 11.5%. Very good. What is ARC? What does it do? What does an asset reconstruction company do? It buys bad loans, and we saw bad bank and all, we saw all of that. Okay. Now I am going to tell you about a problem which banks face. Banks face another problem. Tell me one thing, very simple thing, tell me, some straightforward simple thing, tell me. What kind of deposits does bank get? What are the kinds of deposits? Savings, current, fixed deposit, recurring deposit. Let us restrict ourselves to these four. What do you think is the most profitable for banks? Think and tell. Banks would push for more what kind of deposits? Why? Why? Your logic is right, your conclusion is not right. Banks would prefer fixed deposit and recurring deposits. I'll tell you why. There are no withdrawal requirements here. So that those funds can be given as loans straight away. Banks have to keep more and more funds. See, they have to keep some here also, because tomorrow if you break FD, but this is what? This is daily upar niche. You withdraw, you spend, you put your salary on. Okay? This is very profitable for banks, because banks can give this money as loan. Yes or no? Are you agreeing with this? Banks can give this money as loan straight away. Banks have to give lesser loan from this money. Why? Because यहाँ पे withdrawals are more. Lesser loans. Right? Now tell me, so banks would push for this, and would banks reward these people more or these people more? FD more. That is why rate of interest on FD is definitely higher than savings. So it is the cost which bank has to pay for using the money. Yes or no? Because you are lending your money to bank for 5 years of fixed deposit. So you will definitely buy a higher interest. See, I told you, interest ka one of the reason is to cover inflation cost. Do you remember one concept which we did in the very first lecture called opportunity cost? What is opportunity cost? The cost of pursuing the additional, the cost of not pursuing the second alternative. You have an option. You have 5 lakh rupees. You can put it in bank FD or you can put it in shares. Okay? When you put it in bank FD, what is your opportunity cost? The return which you were supposed to get on shares. So let's say in bank FD you get 5%, 6%. In shares you get 10%, 12%. Chalo. So 12 minus 5, 7% is your opportunity cost when you put in bank FD. Right? You demand some money from bank, sir, for recovering my opportunity cost, give me something, and that is the reason behind interest. It also helps you cover a part of your opportunity cost. Because why will you keep in banks? It is helping you cover it, but banks are safer. Now tell me the average duration of these things. Tell me the average duration of these things. Fixed deposit ka average duration kitna hota? Average 5 years. Most people keep for 1 year, but I would write it as 5 years. Average duration 5 years. Iska average duration 1 year. Keeps on going, coming, going, coming. So average duration is 1 year. Even not even 1 year. Okay, 1 year. Can I say total average of all my deposits comes around 3 to 4 years? Average, roughly. Which means within 3 to 4 years, I have to repay the depositors back. Very good. This chapter I am going very slow, reason being these all are new concepts and difficult to comprehend. And these are advanced level concepts. There is nothing basic in banking chapter. Okay, all these concepts are very advanced. What kind of loans does bank give? What kind of loans? Normal banks. What kind of loans do normal banks give? Housing, house loan, car, vehicle, बाइक भी होता है आजकल, पर्सनल, बिजनेस, बस, more or less, education. What is the duration of a house loan? 10 years. Average. ज़्यादा भी होता है. Vehicle loan 5 years. ठीक है. Let us make it 20 years. Vehicle 5 years. Personal 5 years. Business 10 years. Education is very long. Education goes on for a long time. Education loan also lasts for 15 years. Suppose. Can I write average as 15 years? Can I write average as 15 years? House loan if average होता है 15 years. Do you see a problem here in both these figures? Very advanced concept. Huh? Do you see a problem in this? Banks are getting to use money for 3 years, but they will get money after 15 years. Is there a problem here? Because ultimately यहाँ से मिलके यहाँ जाता है and यहाँ से मिलके यहाँ जाता है. Whatever you recover from here, you pay them. Whatever they give you, you give it to them. ठीक है? Loans are usually of a longer duration compared to deposits. Do you agree with this principle? Yes. So banks face this problem. And I always told you key to match your timings. Revenue expenditure has to be matched with revenue receipts and so on. Even that, in that also timings have to be matched. So if you are getting monthly salary, your expenses should be monthly. It cannot be everyday expenses or it cannot be some big expenses, you know. So to soundly manage your finances. So here, can I say banks will run into trouble? Banks got money today. They have to have to repay them to the depositors after 3 years. They gave loan, but they will receive money after 15 years. What will happen after 4 years? They will have no money. They will have less money. They will have to ask for capital. They will have to ask for help and all. बराबर है? This problem is called as. Let me change the example so that you understand it better. Let me remove this. So confusion nahi rehna chahiye. Let me remove the smaller ones. Let me give the bigger ones. Loan for building bridges. Kitna hoga? What do you think? 20 years minimum. ठीक है? Loan for building other infrastructure. 30 years. Average 20 years. ठीक है? Problem है. Problem was there earlier also. Problem is there now also. But this will make the problem more stark. Do these appear in the asset side or liability side? Liabilities. Do these appear asset side or liability side? Assets. Can I say there is a mismatch between my assets and liabilities? Duration of assets and liabilities. This problem is called as This problem is called as asset liability mismatch problem. Do you understand why it is called as asset liability mismatch? The amount is not mismatching. Either 40 crore, here 40 crores, here 20 crores. Amount nahi. Duration of the funds are mismatching. Your duration is you are lending it out for 20 years. You as a bank, you will get it back after 20 years, and here you are lending it out, you are receiving only for 3-4 years. You have to repay them after 3-4 years. This is called as asset liability mismatch. How to solve this? Think and tell. Take 2 minutes completely. How to solve this? How to solve this? आराम से think and tell. How to solve this? You can come up with your own solutions. Need not be whatever solution I am telling that will be there. But this is how you encourage thinking. How to solve this problem? Socho, think. See, that is why I tell you, you should be physically present here. It makes the discussion a lot more fun. I mean, we would have had so much fun. Some answers would have been so funny. Do this, do that. Sir, increase savings account duration. You can't do that. That is the answers I get. Sir, increase savings account duration. So imagine you as a consumer, you are going to a bank says, sir, you will be able to withdraw only after 3 years in your savings account. It's funny. Chal. Thinking time over. Let me tell you. Open a new bank which will accept deposits for a long duration and which will only lend for long duration, and let the normal commercial banks like us give loans to small people only, small purposes only, personal loan, business loan, house loan maybe, but don't let them give these loans, bridges and infrastructure. Samjha? Open a new bank, you can call it as a long term bank, which will accept deposits only for long term. For those corporates who want to keep crores and crores of rupees fixed for a long term, safe for a long term, no need to touch them, that bank will have that deposits, and that bank will lend to bridges and infrastructure of long term, so that you match them with your list. So normal banks ka 20 years would come down to, let's say, 8-10 years, and this would raise this amount by 5-6 years. Little mismatch will be there is no doubt about it, but maximum mismatch would be reduced or would be resolved. So they are saying try to do this. This is a solution. This is a solution which is proposed. There are various solutions you can think of, but this is a solution which is mostly popular. This is a mostly viable solution, right? And who will keep their money? And chalo, we'll speak about it. Let us call that institution, that big bank or long-term bank. Let us call it as a, see the name. It's a bank, DFI. Now pay attention here. Iska balance sheet if we try to make, where will loans come? I hope you remember loans would come here. What kind of loans would be there? Long term. Can I say infrastructure in one line? Long term hota hai na infrastructure. Takes time to construct dams, railway lines and all. Infrastructure. Who gives funds to banks? Two people give. Remember, two people give. Who gives? Capital and depositors. So let us keep these fixed deposits for a long time. Okay? You will not find many people who are attracted here. Why? Because if you want to keep FD for a long time, might as well invest in shares, because over 20 years shares will give you a very nice return. Okay, so you will find some people here. See, money has to be given. Money कहाँ से आएगा? या तो यहाँ से आएगा या तो यहाँ से आएगा. Correct? This has to go to infra companies as loan. Now, as a businessman, tell me one thing. Who is taking the loan from this bank? Infra companies. Can you name any one infra company? Let us say L&T. Today, if India announces an infrastructure package of 102 crore rupees, we will construct highways, we will construct dams, we will construct ports, railways, etc. We'll dedicated freight corridors, everything. What do you think will happen to shares of L&T? Would the share price increase or share price reduce? Would there be a positive sentiment about L&T or negative? Positive, because L&T will get a lot of contracts now, construct airports, construct roads, shares will increase, price will increase. What do you think about the funding requirements of L&T? Would L&T require more funds or less funds now? More funds, because it wants to construct bridges. Government has announced the award of project, but funding is brought by L&T. Whom would it approach? DFI. Now, if DFI sees that more funds are required, what would it do to the rate of interest? Increase or reduce? Increase. Who is it lending to? A reputable person or some random person? Reputable person. Is the business of L&T in danger? No. Why? Because government has announced award of project. If government did not announce, then maybe you don't know how well it will perform. So can I say the economic environment is conducive for L&T? It is or no? It is. Conducive means positive for L&T. So is the economic environment positive for L&T? Yes. Why? Because government has announced, this is very important. Why? Because government has announced creation of projects. If government did not announce, then economic condition you don't know. New projects honge, nahi honge, you don't know whether new projects will happen or not happen. But due to conducive announcement by the government, L&T is now favorable. L&T needs money. L&T is desperate because it wants to construct the bridges. It comes to DFI. DFI says, hey, I will increase your interest because you are desperate. It increases rate of interest. Now tell me, is the repayment risk high or low? Lower. Why? Because the business is conducive, because the environment is conducive, and because the borrower is L&T, a reputed person. It can also fail, there is no doubt. Tomorrow if we have a lockdown, then situation changes drastically. But now government has announced conducive. Can I say this bank will make a lot of profit with this contract? Because it can demand a higher rate of interest. Can I say there are people who are willing to invest in this bank to earn this high profit? Because they see all this chain. This is all chain, government announcement, positive L&T sentiment, higher rate of interest, higher profit by DFI, higher capital. Yes or no? Who they will be? Big investors. They can be banks also. SBI wants to invest in this bank. SBI cannot give loan directly to L&T because it's a long-term loan. Can SBI give loan through DFI? Yes. Because SBI will give capital. Capital is anyways long-term. Okay, owner's capital, I told you, it stays for a long term. SBI will give loan through this to L&T. Other banks will follow. Jab tak, when they see there is a profit here, Mukesh Ambani will give capital. So funding is done by various people. Samjha? Did you get this? Okay. So this was also announced in the budget, setting up of this. Initially it will be funded by government, and jaise it will find buyers, government will sell its shares and it will disinvest this also. Samjha disinvestment we have done? Let us see budget. इधर ही होगा किधर? अच्छा, by the way, read this. Do you understand this? अभी है ही है तो I think yesterday I told you earlier it was 2 lakh, but it was 1 lakh earlier, then it was increased to 5 lakh. Remember DICGC, deposit insurance? If the bank is temporarily unable to fulfill its obligations, depositors can get easy and time-bound access to deposits to the extent of deposit insurance cover. ठीक है? See this. Minimum loan size eligible for debt recovery under SARFAESI Act is proposed to be reduced. So many things we know now. यार decriminalization के बाद था ऊपर था. ठीक है, we'll just search. है क्या? Oh, see the heading. Sir, क्या बोल रहे हो? Read this. Capitalize. Government will invest 20,000 crores. The ambition is to have a lending portfolio, which means loans given of at least 5 lakh crores in 3 years' time. Thoda difficult to understand now. Did you understand? Are we studying something which makes sense? Yes. कुछ तो है. चलो. Always keep in mind institutions like DFI, institutions like Bad Bank, why they are separately created? Because we want professionals there. So people working for DFI, people who will be the staff, managers, directors of DFI, they will be specializing in infrastructure financing. They know the nitty-gritties of it, which a commercial bank, normal bank might not. Are you getting it? State Bank or Axis Bank or ICICI Bank might not have such specialized people who specialize in this, and this institution will be filled with such people who do infrastructure financing. Samjha? What is Bad Bank? Is Bad Bank asset reconstruction company or different? Yes, it is a type of asset reconstruction company. The only difference between government setup asset reconstruction is, will NARCL, the new companies proposed to be set up, have any government funding? No, it will not. Banks will fund it. I told you SBI will fund, Axis Bank will fund, ICICI Bank will fund, HDFC will fund. NARCL does not have government funding. DFI has government funding. Initially DFI will have, uske baad after a few years time when it finds other buyers, it will also start selling it off, selling off its shares in the DFI. Right? Samjha? We have done a lot many things today. I have just given you the heart and soul of it. Right? Now, let us speak about payment and settlement systems. How payments happen. When you do your net banking, how it works. So payment and settlement systems, always remember whatever mode of payment you are using, payment and settlement systems, Payment Settlement Systems Act है 2007 का. ठीक है, Payment Settlement Systems Act 2007 है. There is a body, there is a government owned body. It is owned by government, it is owned by RBI and IBA. What is IBA? Indian Banks Association. Is it a government owned body or a private industry body? It is an industry body. It is not government owned. Remember, all banks form together Indian Banks Association. Where have we seen IBA earlier? Remember FBIL, Financial Benchmarks India Limited? One of the party was IBA. Yes. Similarly, there is a company called, see this. NPCIL, National Payments Corporation of India Limited. ठीक है, it is not Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. उसका भी full form, उसका भी short form is NPCIL only. This is National Payments Corporation of India Limited. This is jointly owned by RBI and IBA. It has the sole responsibility for all payment systems in the country. Sole responsibility. Now, do you think giving such a sole responsibility to one organization is risky or less risky? It is risky because even though it is owned by RBI and IBA, they are good people, but still, okay? So current affairs, 2-3 months ago, RBI invited new applications from private people, private banks or private companies to set up payment systems, to set up these kind of companies. So I am not using the term because I am telling that term now. Those new institutions or organizations who will give payment services, who will be happy with providing payment services. Do you get it for free? No, you incur a charge for that. See, those companies would be called as, I'll explain. This is very current, this is Naya. New umbrella entities. What do we mean by new umbrella entities? See, this is an umbrella entity, one entity covering all the payment systems in the country. RBI wants new umbrella entities. Companies like NPCIL, different companies like NPCIL to be formed so that they also give payment services. So RBI invited applications from private people or private institutions, private companies, corporations, individuals, MNCs, etc. to provide payment services, and those companies would be called as new umbrella entities. समझा? Now what payment systems can you think of? क्या होता है? NEFT, RTGS. Have you heard about these terms? NEFT, RTGS, IMPS. Have you heard about IMPS? Have you heard about UPI? UPI is the maximum in vogue now. Trust me, 5 years ago, ये कुछ नहीं था. These two were not there. Only these two were there. This all has happened after demonetization. Very fast, quickly. Let us talk about NEFT. Do you know the full form of NEFT? Net electronic fund transfer. ठीक है? Very simple. You log into your ICICI Bank website, net banking. You put in my account details and my account number. You say transfer 500 rupees. 500 rupees gets debited from your account, gets credited to my account. NEFT. So what about RTGS? Now I am going to tell you how these things work. Sir, why it is required for mains? Absolutely not. For prelims, yes. Questions are asked in prelims, and general, see, I want to talk to you about prelims also in detail so that you know how to approach the prelims paper and all of that. We have 15-20 minutes for that in some other session. But always remember that prelims questions are general studies syllabus which we have plus general awareness. ठीक है? Lot of questions come from general awareness. Are you aware of the things happening around you? See, things like UPI, things like Aadhaar, things like NEFT, this should be known to every citizen. Do you agree or not? ठीक है? They are asking कि which of the appliances have star labels. Star label होता है ना? Electricity star label. So you should be aware कि ACs to have at least, fridges have, है ना? They are asking very awareness oriented things also in prelims, and these are the questions which if you know na, it becomes so easy. For example, they had a question in 2019 कि all the ATM in the country are connected by which organization? ठीक है? So we'll see that question, but that is common sense, right? So we'll see all of that. See, because ATMs are a part of payment system, so they would be connected by NPCI only, National Payment Corporation, and that was one of the options. It was so easy question. But easy when you keep your ears, eyes, mind open. Don't remain in a closed room. See, UPSC cannot be done by sitting in a closed room for 365 days a year. You should download government apps and see what works, what does not work. You should use different payment systems to see. You should practically experience these things. For example, Aadhaar card hai. So Aadhaar pe just see how many digits is your Aadhaar number. Just see how it works. Aadhaar authentication, how it works. When you go to buy something, when you give your Aadhaar, just ask the shopkeeper to tell you how it works. This all they ask in prelims. Trust me, they ask all these questions in prelims. So I'll briefly tell you. This is very simple. Now imagine you have your account with Axis Bank. You want to send your money to me. I have an account with SBI. Suppose, okay? So when you initiate NEFT in your net banking, you do all this. What happens is, whose account will be debited? Your account would be debited. You are paying to me. Your which account would be debited? You have an account in Axis Bank. Your Axis Bank account would be debited. Whose account would be credited? My SBI account would be credited. But this does not happen directly. When you initiate the transaction, your account is debited, money is deposited to RBI. RBI gives it to NPCI, National Payment Corporation. That is one entry. Don't you think at the same time or 5-10 minutes aage piche, many people are debiting their Axis Bank accounts. Many people are using IMPS and NEFT and all. Barabar hai? So what happens is, in half an hour or 1 hour slots, this thing happens. So every Axis Bank debits in 1 hour would be accumulated with NPCI. Every State Bank of India debits would be accumulated with NPCI in 1 hour. Every HDFC Bank debits would be accumulated with NPCI. Okay? Now, after that 1 hour, batch is run. All the transactions are run together. Now, there is a possibility that you have transferred from Axis Bank to SBI. There is a possibility someone has transferred from SBI to Axis Bank. Do you agree with this? Yes. So instead of transferring one transaction, what happens is NPCI nets it off. Nets कर लेता है कि Axis से SBI में 200 was supposed to come, and SBI to Axis someone else has done, let's say 75 rupees worth of transaction. So net transaction of 125 would be made with instructions. With instructions ki give this person pura 200 rupees. Axis Bank will get the instruction, SBI will get the instruction, okay, and then SBI will then NPCI will credit the net money to SBI and SBI will credit money to me. This is how things function. So I hope by now you know why it is called net. Why net? Because it is netted off. See, I owe you 200 rupees, you owe me 50 rupees. So net I have to pay you 150. Na, वैसा ही है. This happens on a bank level. Individual level पे we get our own money, we get our full money individual level पे. ठीक है? Because imagine the volume of transactions if every transaction is passed. Now RTGS. RTGS can only be made for amounts about 2 lakh rupees. You should know all this. It's very general awareness. This is not a part of our syllabus. It's general awareness. RTGS can only be done for amounts about 2 lakh rupees. ठीक है? Is about 2 lakh rupees low amount or high amount? High amount. One transaction 2 lakh rupees is a high amount. So do you think urgency hoga 2 lakh rupees ka? Someone is paying hospital bills, someone is doing business people are doing. They need urgency, ठीक है? Do you think by giving them priority or fast track access, our economy will grow fast because there are high transactions, high amount transactions? Yes or no? So that is why these don't be net. These are not counted in net. These are settled real time. They don't wait for bunching and they don't. And see this, gross settlement, not net. Do you notice this? The key lies in the words only. So here they wait for 1.5 hour, they accumulate it and then they process net. यहाँ पे real time, the moment you click yes, it will go to NPCI, it will hit Axis Bank, it will hit SBI Bank, it will get credited. And gross level पे, it will not wait, it is a fast track thing. ठीक है? IMPS is a layer over these two. So if you want to transfer immediately, be it RTGS or NEFT, you can use IMPS. And UPI, I hope you all know. Do you know we have something called as a VPA address, virtual payment address, जो अपना address है, phone number @UPI or phone number @Axis Bank. That is the address which is used to if you want to send your money through UPI, what do you need? You don't need account number and all. You just need that address, VPI address. So if you are paying by QR code on some shop, either it is Paytm wallet or it is Google Pay UPI. Yes or no? So Google Pay UPI. Google Pay, what do you put? You put that person's VPI address. So Google Pay has the facility of searching for VPI address when you put his mobile number also, because most of the VPI numbers are mobile number @UPI. So that is called as a VPI address in UPI, Unified Payments Interface. You should know about these things. These are very important and these are general awareness. And I suspect UPSC will ask questions on UPI. It will ask. Okay, it will ask questions about virtual payment address and all, because it is asking very rapidly or frequently it is asking questions about Aadhaar and all. Aadhaar hai na? Ki Aadhaar mein how is it authenticated? Prelims mein it is asking continuously. So this was all about payment systems. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds to pause and then you can pause it and then we will stop here. We have covered the core of banking. There are a lot of ancillary things remaining. So maybe we'll take 1 hour in the next lecture. After that, I plan to start with, I plan to do some MCQs with you. We'll solve some MCQs. कि देखेंगे तो सही, after all, इतना we are studying 28 lectures now. This is the 28th lecture if you count the first introduction lecture also. This is the 28th lecture. कुछ तो काम आएगा in prelims, right? Mains का तो we have to practice after knowing everything and reading current affairs. Then only we can attempt mains, right? So we'll see some MCQs also and then we move on to balance of payments chapter. After that we have to do WTO, we have to do IMF, we have to do World Bank, we have to do infrastructure, we have to do agriculture, we have to do poverty, we have to do unemployment, we have to do globalization. But you know, honestly speaking, the topics which I feel don't require much of our attention and which require more of your reading, I will give less time to it because there is not much for me to explain. वो storybook जैसा है, you know, history. So I will take 2 topics in 1 session. वैसा, we'll finish it off in 1 session, 2 topics or 1 session, 1 topic वैसा. But this, I hope you agree that this all requires a lot of time to understand, right? So we started with the screen of this screen. So you can pause here if you want and you can write it down. Right? Next, you can pause here. You can write it down. Next, you can pause here. These are all just examples. Next, you can make these diagrams also. You can pause here. Next, definitely you should pause here. Next, we spoke about Bad Bank and National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, right? Next, just write the word securitization. I hope it is more than enough for you to understand. You can pause here if you want. Next, asset liability mismatch is also a very important, very important concept. Next, DFI, we spoke about DFI, we saw the budget also about DFI and Asset Reconstruction Company, NARCL. So all these are latest news, you know, secretly. I hope that 2021 people know about these things because ये तो अभी का current है and question might come, and if question comes we will dance, because we know all this. Next we spoke about payment and settlement systems. You can pause here if you want, right? Next we speak about this. You don't need to write, you know, this was just me spreading some general awareness. You can read about these things, how these work, but not in detail, not too much in detail. You can read about these things. Okay? Let us quickly revise 10 concepts, any 10 which come to our mind, which come to my mind actually. Okay? First, asset liability mismatch. What is it? Mismatch between duration of deposits, which is your liability, and your assets, which is loans. What do we have a solution for that? Development Finance Institution or long-term bank, you can call it. Okay? Will DFI have government funding? Yes, initially it will have, later on it might not. Initially it will be 100% funded by the government. What is a bad bank? Bank which is going to take bad loans. Will it have government funding? No, it will have funding from all the banks. Not all, many of the banks. That is third. Fourth, what is ARC? Asset Reconstruction Company. Kya hai wo? It is also in the business of taking bad loans and dealing with it, selling it off and all. Under which act they are registered? Sarfaizi Act 2002. Always remember Sarfaizi Act, Asset Reconstruction Company. When ARC also fails, what happens? We are going to see tomorrow in the next lecture. When ARC also fails, what happens? What is evergreening? Renewing the loans by some unscrupulous and taking advantage of the law and all. What is twin balance sheet problem? One balance sheet causing problems in the balance sheet of the banks. Borrower's balance sheet causing problems with the balance sheet of the lender is known as twin balance sheet. What else did we see? What is net stable funding ratio? Required funding upon available funding should be at least how much? 100%. At least 100%. What was the other ratio? Liquidity coverage ratio. What is liquidity coverage ratio? Formula: high quality liquid assets upon cash outflow in the stress scenario. Remember, high quality liquid assets like gold, cash, bonds, etc. divided by cash outflow in the stress scenario. Yes or no? Very good. There is no minimum mention of liquidity coverage ratio because it differs from bank to bank, differs from economy to economy. That is why Basel did not mention a specific percentage which is applicable to India. Then we saw capital adequacy ratio. Last point, what is capital adequacy ratio? Also known as capital to risk weighted assets ratio. So capital upon risk weighted assets is known as capital adequacy ratio. Did you understand banking ka accounting now? How it does income recognition and all. Okay? So always keep in mind, what are the 4 macroprudential norms or prudential norms? 1, asset classification. 2nd, income recognition. 3rd, provisioning. 4th, maintaining CAR and CRAR. So I hope this was useful. We will revise in detail in the next lecture anyways. We do that. That is our ritual, right? But be excited for some MCQs coming real soon. I cannot say when, real soon. And I am not going to tell answer. You are only going to tell me. See, there will be some questions which I tell ki iska answer to find out in the exam is very difficult. Genuinely, they are difficult questions. So deal with it. If you don't know, leave them. We'll speak about MCQs in the future lectures. I hope banking was useful. Banking chapter is nowhere over. It is still remaining. We are going to continue with banking chapter in the next lecture. Thank you so much. Please revise banking chapter. Please revise monetary policy chapters. I have taught you more than 100 concepts abhi tak till date. So you have to revise all of them. You have to keep knowing all of them. And you have to, when you read newspapers, I hope things will become easier as you see more and more lectures. Okay? Thank you so much. And always, like always, keep revising. Thank you.